Hi all, this is Skate, and this is a video I intended on uploading a while ago, but kind of getting a little bit delayed with my videos, and then updates come out, and it gets pushed further behind, and then I get access to the test client, and 5.0 news with spare parts, and then this ends up on the back burner. Nonetheless, here we are, and we are driving the WZ-110. Now, if you haven't gone up the line and you don't have one of these, you need one of these. You want one of these. It is a damn good tank, and I do mean really good. Now, the first thing you're going to come across on the Chinese heavy line is the IS-2. I've already put a video on the channel for that, but to put it, well, straight, it's a bit subpar. And then after the IS-2, you unlock this. And the first thing you get is the 122mm gun with 175mm of penetration, but it does have extra DPM over the other tier 8 IS variants with that gun. So you kind of balance off the penetration for the extra little bit of DPM. But you do think, great. Same old IS variants. All the same, just look slightly different, have slightly different variants to them. And then you eventually unlock the 100mm gun, and that's the thing I'd say you want more than anything on this tank. I'm not a huge tier 8 IS variant fan, and the reason I'm not, quite simply, I find them a bit bland. This thing, on the other hand, with its 100mm gun, is not bland. It has a nice gun. In fact, for the armor layout on the thing, it has a little bit of a ridiculous gun. And it offers you 25% extra DPM over other ISs, like the IS-6 or the Glacial, or the IS-3 or the IS-5. I can go on. I'm pretty sure you get the point. There's enough of these sorts of tanks at tier 8. We all know it. It annoys the hell into all of us. So it's put a lot of people off getting one of these things. But I can't express it enough. You need this thing in your life. And I'd recommend sooner rather than later, because, as we know, Wargaming will not nerf a tank if it's unpopular. However, if it's popular, they'll eventually nerf it. My honest opinion on this thing, it's a little bit overcooked. So enjoy it while you can, because Wargaming can see the statistics, which are black and white, just like we can see. And if you look at the win rate, average damage on this thing, it tops other tier 8s. By a fair margin. So for that reason, if you haven't gone up this Chinese heavy line yet, which I know a lot of you haven't, and you're late to the party just like me, I would really recommend going up it as soon as you can. It's well worth the IS-2 grind, that's for sure. So just to finish the topic of the gun, has 215mm of penetration, 310 alpha as you'd expect from 100mm, with a 7.3 second reload. On a tank which has damn good frontal armor. All those things combined, also combining with the fact it has a better aim time and a better gun dispersion than the other models like that one in front, it gives you one hell of an edge on those ones you can pretty much guarantee and expect to come up against at tier 8. So for a gun like this on a tier 8 heavy, I have nothing but praises for that gun. Yeah, obviously you could say, oh, this needs improving, or that needs improving, but the damn thing is damn good, to put it blunt. It's just good. And then we come to the armor layout on it. And the armor is also very, very good for that matter. It looks like your stereotypical pike-nosed tier 8 heavy, except it's not as wide, which means the pike is at much more of an aggressive angle, which means the armor thickness goes through the roof. But of course, why would you shoot at those cheeks or those front upper plates when you can shoot at that massive lower plate? Because the lower plate is huge on this thing. So the aim of the game, quite simply, is hide your lower plate. If you don't hide your lower plate, you're going to get torn apart. Also, frontally, pointing at this thing, the effective thickness on those upper front cheeks is ridiculous. However, coming around a corner, they're weaker because they're flatter from the side. So when you're thinking about this thing in battle, they are the serious two pitfalls or things you need to account for when playing this thing. you can see where I am. I'm trying to stay in a position to keep my lower plate hidden. If I can poke just the turret, fantastic. If I can't poke just the turret, I'm going to do everything I can to hide the lower plate. Also, I will always point directly at whatever is pointing at me. And while you're doing that and pointing directly at whatever's about to fire, move at the same time. Increases the chance of them hitting the front upper plates instead of, well, the lower plate, because you're moving. And then the other final alternative, worst case scenario, if you can't hide the lower plate, reverse side scrape. It does work. That wasn't a good example. I got penetrated then because of my poor angling, but it does work. As a personal preference, I leave the reverse side scraping almost as a last resort. I always go for trying to hide everything except for the turret. There you go. Here's two examples of the reverse side scraping opportunities working. But yeah, try hide the hull. If you can't hide the hull, make sure your lower plate is always hidden. And you're not popping around a corner sideways unless you know nothing is going to shoot at you or you can afford the hit point trade. Remember those simple things on this tank and you will be laughing all the way to the win rate bank. That's a ridiculously stupid thing to say, but it's true. As long as you do those things, you're going to reload quicker than a lot of the heavy tanks you come up against at tier 8. You're going to be aimed in quicker than them as a result as well. So in one-on-one standoffs, you tend to have the advantage against the other tier 8 heavies. But the reason, and this is the exact reason here, why I try to avoid reverse side scraping unless it's the last opportunity. Here, where he's had the opportunity to poke out, he can penetrate me all day long, and it takes time to obviously get into said positions. On Blitz, trying to get into said positions at close quarters isn't always ideal. So try and keep the reverse side scraping for last resort. You can see I'm trying to side scrape out here, but I'm trying to do it at quite an aggressive angle. Does still weaken the front plates if you do it too much though. And then the final thing you can do to really make yourself annoying as hell is a face hug. Face hugging other tier 8 heavies like the, well, every single IS possible variant you can think is more than likely going to get chewed alive by this thing in a one-on-one face hug scenario. Now you will come across very competent players who do know exactly how to push themselves out of it and try and angle themselves just right to penetrate you with some heat, but it's not easy and it would be a struggle in that circumstance. I got a couple of examples of a couple of these maneuvers working, which I want to show really quick just as an observational thing. But IS-2, one tier lower, pretty much the same with a lot of tanks you come up against at tier 7. Face hugging is a ridiculously good solution because what's he going to penetrate? He can aim for the hatches on top, but at that point when you can see them aiming for the hatches on top, well, you can probably out DPM them. Or what about Euro one-shot versus an IS-6? Now, we have one huge 25% extra DPM over this thing, and we have better accuracy, so more than likely we're going to be firing quicker as well. But I'm a one-shot, so the first thing I'm going to do is get myself close to this target, because it hides my lower plate. And then we're going to face hug. So he came into this duel at full health. He is frantically going to be looking for somewhere to penetrate this tank. And he's going to struggle. I'm still one shot. And just look how quickly we're tearing this thing up. And we're in a tier 8 heavy. This works ridiculously effective against a lot of tanks you come up against. Doesn't matter the caliber of the player. Yes, the better the player, the more likely they are to actually do some damage. But they're still going to struggle. It's not going to be an easy feat. And the last thing I wanted to show is some examples of suitable reverse side scraping opportunities. I have several targets here against me. There is a WZ-110 down the other side, and he is showing his big lower plate off. In this circumstance, I've already bounced one from the Tiger, I've bounced one from that IS by there, and my gun's around the corner much quicker, so I can get those shots off quick without poking, overexposing, and causing myself any undue damage. So yeah, it's a nice tank. It's a great tank. Honestly, I can't sing the praises of this thing enough. And all it relies on is positioning and trying to hide those weak spots. putting yourself in the suitable positions to hide the weak spots, and you're laughing. You just let the gun do the rest. Now, you can't always do that, and there will be more than one target shooting at you. So it's trying to find the balance. That's something you have to do in the circumstance. There is no right or wrong there. Realistically, taking the target out with the most dangerous gun is what I try to do first, or taking the target out with the lowest hit points if they're going to be quick to finish off. It all depends on the circumstance you're in. But the key thing is trying to keep it in terrain where you're safe, where your weak spots are easily addressed and dealt with. And in my eyes, that's really all that matters with this tank. I mean, yeah, I'm probably going to get a lot of people who are massive IS fans, IS-3s or IS-5 fans. We're going to lay a bit of hate on for this video. Because I've basically said this thing could slay an IS. Now, it can't in all circumstances, obviously. But in a one-on-one head-to-head against an IS-3, I'd put my money on this thing every day. You can out-DPM it. Its plates in that close quarters scenario is better in every circumstance. It's got the better accuracy. It's just better in my eyes. And it's more fun for that reason, because the ISs, and I know I'm focusing on them a lot, but they are realistically the biggest competitor and the biggest threat in Tier 8. I would rather drive one of these all day long. In fact, I wish they made a premium variant with this gun. I don't even care if it had less DPM. In fact, if someone said, hey, we're going to make a premium one of these with a 100mm gun, but we're going to give it the same DPM as the IS's. As long as it wasn't in a crate, I'd still buy one, because it may not have the DPM this thing does, but one of these things I can enjoy playing and making money. Yeah, I'd do it. One thing worth noting, also haven't mentioned it yet, equipment. I'm running the gun rammer on this. I'm running the improved modules. I'm running the improved optics. And in this last game, I am running the gun lane drive. I don't have any of the extra equipment on this thing yet. If I was going to continue, I'd go with the enhanced armor, I'd go with the improved control, and I'd go with the vertical stabilizer. But just so you're aware what is featured on the tank I am playing, and what I would continue further with, and what I probably will continue further with after 5.0. In fact, no, I'm going to do it now, because I'm probably going to want to play this tank, so that means I'm going to want the camo for it. So yeah, there you go. I even think this thing is worth spending the spare parts on. But that obviously means getting it before update 5.0. So if you're one of those people that stopped on the IS-2, and I know there's a lot of you because I do read the comments, it may be worth cracking on and getting the tank. Aside from the things I've mentioned, genuinely, I think it is all about positioning and hiding that lower plate. Keeping that lower plate hidden, keeping yourself positioned well, or justifying the trade-off. Like, for example, can I take a shot off him? That was my logic, was yes, I could take a shot. I thought it was going to penetrate because I was out in the open, but turns out the armor also blocked that. But that's what my logic was, is I can afford to take a shot off him, and in exchange I can get 2 shots down onto him. It didn't go to plan, but the armor blocked it anyway. So that's what I want to do, is I want to take care of this IS before I go playing games with the T28. Now, the reason I've decided this tank first is because I can out-DPM it really quickly, I can deal with it really quickly, and it means I can focus my armor onto the big boy which is approaching me from the rear. Wow, I just realised how that sounded. Yeah, so we'll ignore that part, but now I can focus solely on him. I can get a shot in before he's even focused in on me, and while he's on the reload, because of how good my reload is, it gives me the opportunity to come out and take one more shot. I did sadly bounce that one. I'm waiting till he comes near, and then I'm going to try and push close again to hide the lower plate. Sadly didn't go to plan that time, but as we already know, my reload is much quicker. So I can wipe him out very, very quickly. One more from him, and I probably would have been dead, because he probably would have used a HE round. And honestly, I think if I was in possibly one of the others, I would have lost this one due to rate of fire and having to focus longer on the aim time. But that one was a mastery, just over 4,000 damage. We damaged 7, killed 5. And that's it for this WZ-110 video. I hope you have enjoyed it. Thank you all for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye bye.